we are going to go ahead and kick off with math. Just say that because I need to stop that chat. Yep, you're right. Bye, chat. And of course, we've been talking about ratios and rates and how those look and how to solve them. I have multiple problems here today that I have ready to go for you, some examples to do together. Yesterday, we talked about rates and how they look on number lines, like double number lines. And today, we're just going to look at that another way and how those can transfer into a table as well. So we're going to look at ratios on number lines as well as tables. So I flip over here. I don't know why that always takes me so long. Aha, there we go. My wonderful example here. So, all right, double number lines and tables. So we're going to kind of adjust this a minute just to make sure that you are understanding that when you write a ratio, you're comparing two things. And for example, here, a dragonfly travels 25 meters in 1 second. So here you have 1 second, the time is 1 second, and the distance is 25 meters. Yesterday, we had a lot more little tick marks in there and said, hey, fill in the numbers. However, today, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to compare and see which one of these tables that I've set up actually matches this rate that this dragonfly travels. If you would choose A or B. And if you have the time as 1 second and the distance is 25 meters, you're going to find the pattern here and see which one of these, either table A or table B, matches this example. All right, if you're going 1 second, it only takes a dragonfly 1 second to fly 25 meters. And I think sometimes these make things up because when we get to some of my other examples that I borrow from math books, they just don't make a whole lot of sense to me. But we're going to go with it. These are the numbers that we got. All right, I got one person who says, I think it's this answer. Think about this. If you have the time as 1 second and the distance is 25 meters, then if you think about the distance is actually 25 times the amount of time it takes. So 1 second will get them 25 meters. So think about this. If you're looking at, there you go. Now I'm getting a whole bunch of answers coming in. I think it's B. So this one's A. The seconds, if I have 8 seconds, could the dragonfly go 225 meters? 12 seconds, 300 meters. Does this one make sense? If you're going 25 times the distance as the amount of seconds that you have, does that one make sense? We also have choice B over here. If you have 3 seconds, then the table B is saying that the dragonfly would go 75 meters, or 5 seconds would give you 125 meters. Yes, everybody who has written in the chat, thank you. I appreciate your cooperation and your participation. But yes, B is the correct answer, because if you were to continue filling out the numbers on this number line and you had 3 seconds, 3 times 25 is 75 meters. That does make sense. 8 times 25 does not equal 225 meters. Just like 12 times 25 is not 300. So none of these make sense. A is absolutely wrong all the way around. All right. I'm going to give you a second scenario, but I want you to answer in the chat. Okay, just see what matches here. If I am talking about how many weeks, if it takes 1 week for, I'm going to pick a name here, for Bryce. Bryce likes to build toy trains, okay? And let's say it takes 1 week for Bryce to build 9 trains. He can build 9 trains in 1 week, okay? If that's the case, which one of these would you choose, which table would you choose to match in this instance? if you kept filling out this number line and went all the way up to 5 weeks, how many? Yeah, there you go. You guys are punching it in awfully fast and I can't even keep up. But everyone has the right idea. One person said the wrong thing, and yeah, let's explain why. First of all, you only have 1 week and you can build 9 trains in 1 week. So you're taking the amount of weeks and you can multiply them by 9 to get the number of trains. So if I take this number of weeks, if I had 90 weeks and you multiply that by 9, whoo, that is a lot of trains, but it says only 10 here. So what they've done here to try to trick you on choice B is they flip-flopped. So they flip-flopped the weeks and the trains. They said in 90 weeks, you could only build 10 trains. That is absolutely incorrect because you can build more trains in 1 week than what this allows. So B is automatically wrong, and this very first example is why. If you had 5 weeks, then you could build 45 trains. 12 weeks would give you 108 trains, and 26 weeks would indeed give you 234 trains. So it's finding the it's finding the correct answer, and of course this answer is A, because B is absolutely wrong in this situation. Okay, so it's just making sure that your rates are proportionate, that they're organized, that you have the right number under the right column for a table. And that leads me to my next example. Now we're going to actually fill out the table. Okay, fill out the table. And this is just more review of rates and ratios and how they are filled in. This is one that didn't make sense to me because I like to bake. And it says that you need 3 sticks of butter for 24 cookies. I think that's wrong. I don't think you need nearly that much butter for that many cookies, unless you're making butter cookies. Anyway, if you have 3 sticks of butter for 24 cookies, you would set up a table like this, okay? And it's going to ask you now for 2 questions. First of all, how much butter would you need for 16 cookies? And then a second question that we'll answer separately. How many cookies if you have 5 sticks of butter? Let's just take the first question, and I'll solve that one in red here. This red box, how much butter would I need to only make 16 cookies? Well, I have fewer cookies, so I'm going to have less butter. And this is almost a ratio set up for you already. If I have 3 sticks of butter to equal 24 cookies, if I kept the cookies here, how much butter would I need? Now, if you have a ratio that looks like this, you can cross multiply and divide just like before. Cross multiply and divide. So cross multiply, meaning multiply these 2 by each other, 16 times 3, because they are diagonal from each other. And you would get, what, 18, 48. 48, and then you divide by the number that's left over. So what's 48 divided by 24? Yes, it is 2. So you would need 2 sticks of butter for 16 cookies. Now you have to think, does that make sense? I have fewer cookies, I have less butter. Does it make sense? Yes, and yes, it does make sense. Now we're going to solve the same problem, except this time we want to know how many cookies we're going to make if I have 5 sticks of butter. And I'm going to set up the ratio again. And you can set up the ratio by saying 3 and use the numbers that it gives you. So if I have 3 sticks of butter equals 24 cookies, okay, and I'm just going to write that down here. 3 sticks of butter equals 24 cookies. If I have 5 sticks of butter, keeping all the butter in the same column, just like this table does, then how many cookies could I make? There you go. Well, no, not that number. Yes. Okay. There's some people who got it right. One got it wrong. Yes, absolutely. You would cross multiply. That's the method that I really love because it works every time. Cross multiply 5 times 24. That means they're diagonal from each other. So you multiply them. 24 times 5 gives you 120. Okay, if you have 120 and you have the 3 left over here, that's the one that's left over. So that's what you divide by. 120 divided by 3 leaves you with 40. So the final answer here is 40 in that blank spot. So 40 cookies. And again, think to yourself, make sure it makes sense. If you started out with 3 sticks of butter to make 24 cookies, you increase the butter, so you also increase the number of cookies. So just make sure that your answers make sense. Okay. And that's filling in 2 different questions for the same table here that you're working with. All right. I have one more example for you, and I want you to solve this one. Again, I think this is an ungodly amount of flour for 6 pizzas, but we're going to roll with it. If you use 39 cups of flour to make 6 pizzas, and nobody questions why, then how much flour would you need to make 4 pizzas? So fewer pizzas. And then how many pizzas would you make if you only had 13 cups of flour? So go ahead and solve one thing at a time, just one thing at a time. Don't worry about the bottom numbers, just solve first. How much flour would you need if you only made 4 pizzas? And once again, oh, good, Isabella. I'm glad you said so. That makes it nice. All right, go ahead and fill this in. Good job, Jarrell. Yes, Shunashi. Yes, Hector. And, ooh, Jarrell, yeah, you're fast. You got them both already. Very good. All right. So far, so good. I'm seeing lots of correct answers. Like I said, you don't even have to worry about the bottom question yet. Just do one at a time. Jesse, yeah. Looks like you use a calculator because you got a decimal point and a 0 in there, but we'll take it. Yeah, exactly, Carolina. These are like mega pizzas. That's why they take so much flour. There you go. Good job, Carly. All right. Good job, Aubrey. Yes, Kaya. Good job, Erin. Yes, Rosie. Ashley, there's no 0.5 on there, just a plain old number, and then you got it. All right. Yes, you guys have done a great job so far. Hopefully, you set up your ratio, cross multiplied and divided. Say, okay, I have 39 cups of flour to make 6 pizzas, and if I keep my pizzas in that same column, what if I only have 4 pizzas? How much flour do I need? And again, these you can cross multiply 39 times 4, and then I'm just going to walk through the steps one more time. 39 times 4, you got 12, 15, 156. And the 6 is left over. You haven't used it yet. So you take 156 and divide by 6. Okay. If you divide by 6, then you will have, just walking through the steps here, division. 6 goes into 36 at 6 times. So yes, every one of you who answered 26 pizzas, you're absolutely, I'm sorry, 26 cups of flour, you are correct. Okay, then you set up the second problem and figure out how many pizzas you can make, mega pizzas. Mega pizzas you would make here with this 13 cups of flour. Oh yeah, boy, these answers are coming in really fast. Maybe at this point, you might even see a pattern in your table. So if you went from 39 to 26 to 13, you're going down each time by 13. So, or on the left side, decreasing by 2/3. All right. Yeah, everyone who answered this one is correct. 2 pizzas. If you only had 13 cups of flour, you could have 2 pizzas. And the way to prove it is, again, to set up your ratio here. And you have 6 pizzas. And how many pizzas? So 39 cups for 6 pizzas. 13 cups would give you how many pizzas? And again, cross multiply 13 times 6, and then 7, and then take your 78 divided by 39, which only goes twice. And that is how many pizzas you can make, mega pizzas, I'm going to say, out of 13 cups of flour. Yes, we're going for the world record largest pizzas in these instances. All right, that lesson, yes, short, sweet, just review again on ratios and rates. I am going to give you the con assignment. It should not take super long. There are actually 2, because they only have 4 questions each. Double number lines and ratio tables. There you go. There are 2 assignments. One of them is with the double number line, just guessing which one's, not guessing, telling which one is right or wrong out of A and B, choice A and B, which one is proportionate, which one is a correct ratio, okay? And then the second one is filling out the table with the missing numbers, just like we did here, okay? So those 2 assignments, there's only 4 questions on each assignment. That'll give you about 10 minutes. 10 minutes to solve those problems, in my mind. Jonathan, that is fascinating. Thank you for letting me know. So that'll give you about 10 minutes to work on the problems, and then we can maybe take just a short, quick break, since this was a short, quick lesson, and then continue on with writing and reading. All right, if you have questions, the chat is open. And let's say at 9:40, we'll resume at 9:40. That way you have time to take a break, time to work on your Khan Academy first, and then take a quick break, and then we'll continue on with some writing.
I have never been more excited in my teaching career than I am right now. Cool. All right, everybody. Let's take a look. First of all, I want to go over yesterday's assignment a little bit. Apparently, there was quite a bit of confusion about what was supposed to be done, and that's my fault. I sort of rushed through that. So no heart attacks, no stress. Clearly, for at least the 6 or 8 of you who are still here and paying attention, that's we'll get that worked out. So first, let's go ahead and go over what I wanted you to do yesterday. So we'll go over yesterday's assignment, so that way you have an idea of what I want you to do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And my apologies, just bad teaching on my part. I hurried through it, and I wasn't very clear on the instructions. So this is what you are looking at as far as the assignment is concerned, yesterday's assignment. So there are really 2 things that that I needed you to do. The first is we talked about intermittent feelings and reflections, and sort of how that particular strategy is the heartbeat of writing. So whenever you're writing a narrative, what you're doing is you are sharing your thoughts and your feelings as you are walking the reader through your story. So in this particular piece, that doesn't really happen. So what I wanted you to do is, yesterday, again, I went through it fairly quickly, but at the end of this second paragraph, you should be inserting your thoughts or feelings at this point. So what does that mean? And then again, I wanted you to put that in green. So the narrator of this particular story is asking Blanket for advice. Have you seen Pa Bear? Blanket doesn't respond, obviously. So at this point, you want to add a sentence or two or three even. There is no sentence count, so don't ask. But how would you feel if you were the narrator and then suddenly your most prized possession, which in this case is Pa Bear, you have a friend who's not responding, and then that thought occurs to you that, hey, I may never see Pa Bear again. So step one is to make sure that you are inserting your thoughts or feelings about that matter at that point. So that's one. The second part of this, so this is one. And then the second is, we were talking, yes, we talked about indirect reflections. And another way of saying this or stating this is showing, not telling. So for instance, we said an example of a direct reflection would be, I was really happy. An indirect reflection would be a big smile spread across my face, and my heart leaped in my chest when I realized I had won the prize. So that is the difference between a direct reflection, I was really happy, and an indirect reflection, which is a big smile spread across my face and my heart leaped in my chest when I realized I had won the prize. So this is what's called an indirect reflection. And it's also an example of showing, not telling. So here we're not saying the word happy. The word happy doesn't appear anywhere in that particular sentence, but you can infer just by what's happening there that that the speaker or the narrator is happy. So basically, the second part of this assignment is you need to go into these last two paragraphs here. And you'll notice that the word joy appears, right? I climbed over this, she answered, and she handed me, I yelled in joy and started jumping around. And then down here, I was very happy that my mom found Pa Bear. So this right here, if I'm going to get super specific about what you need to revise or change, it would be that that particular sentence. So rather than saying I was happy, show me what that looks like. So you can see an example of it here. After I calmed down, I gave my mom a hug, and another, then I hugged Pa Bear. Okay, so no real mention of an emotion, just showing. Okay, after calm down, gave mom a big hug, and then another, and then hugged Pa Bear. So obviously there's a sense of relief, there's a sense of happiness there, and we're not discussing, it's not a direct reflection. But here, I was very happy that mom found Pa Bear. That is a direct reflection. We basically want to make it an indirect reflection. So we want to show, not tell. And we want to do the same thing in the second to last paragraph as well. I climbed out of the door and went to my mom and asked what she wanted. She said, I found Pa Bear, and she handed me Pa Bear. So I yelled in joy and started jumping around. So this is the other sentence that you want to revise. So we want to do a better job of showing, not telling. So started jumping around. Yeah, you can leave that in there, but you want to show, you want to give me some more examples or an example of showing, not telling. So there's basically 3 parts to this assignment. You need to add your thoughts and feelings at the end of the second paragraph, or if you want to create another paragraph, that's fine, but Pa Bear's not there and Blanket's not responding. So just write a couple of sentences explaining how you would feel if that were you. And then in the remaining, the last 2 paragraphs where I marked in red there, you want to show, not tell. So it's not an extensive rewrite. It's not a lot of revision. You're really just inserting a sentence or 2, explaining your thoughts or feelings at that point, if you were the narrator. And then in these last 2 paragraphs, in the sentences that I wrote are highlighted in red, you just need to revise those to show, not tell. That's basically it. So if you have any questions, type those in the chat, and I'll give us just a minute to do that. And then we'll move on to today's lesson. We're going to be doing some more of this. So we'll go ahead and take it from there. And I don't know if the chat is open or not. I'm not seeing any. Cool. I'm going to run with that. All right. So the difference between a direct reflection and an indirect reflection, we talked about that. So a direct reflection is when you tell the reader exactly the feeling or the emotion that the writer, which is you, is having. So I was really happy, I was scared to death, I was freezing. Indirect reflection is when you're giving evidence of the feeling without actually naming it. So you are showing, not telling. And that is a big, big difference. So if you are going to err on one side or the other, I would say indirect reflections are the way to go. So the direct reflection, that's typically elementary age type writing, you know, when first, second grade, when you're just learning how to put pencil to paper and string thoughts together. A direct reflection is, and there's a time and a place for a direct reflection, but if you, especially at this point and this stage in your writing, you want to spend quite a bit more time using indirect reflections. And you can see why. There's a lot more going on here in terms of strong verbs, descriptive writing, specific adjectives and nouns. You're just it just gives you more opportunities to show what you know as a writer, and to make the writing more engaging for your reader, which is sort of the name of the game. So, all right, let's take a look. Let's take a look here at feelings and emotions in narrative writing. So this is what we're picking up today. So this is what we did yesterday, and now I'm not going to go there. But here is what we're going to do today. I'm going to model this real quickly, and I want you to take a look. So let's go back for just a moment. And this is a key piece of your assignment for tonight. So if you didn't get it done last night, or if you were unsure, don't worry about it. You can do it. You can do it today at no penalty. But hopefully we cleared that up. But this is your homework for tonight. So, Mom, I said frantically, have you seen Pa Bear? No, she replied. I shrugged and thought about where I would go if I was Pa Bear. I was only 4. Instead of looking for a Pa Bear right away, I went to my Blanket for advice. I asked Blanket if he had seen Pa Bear leave and if he knew where. Blanket sat there not saying anything. I tried to remind him that Pa Bear was a good friend of his, but he didn't tell me anything. So now, like, your homework tonight, for example, is going to be immediately after that to write your thoughts or feelings at this point in the story. And so I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to do it with this passage here. So I'll go ahead and read this, and then this will be like an example of what you should do with tonight's assignment. Okay. Yesterday, our class went on an exciting trip to the Soco Gardens Zoo. We were all excited and surprised because it was so cold. We were all freezing. When we finally arrived at the zoo, the first place we visited was the giant aquarium. It had angelfish that were as beautiful as real angels. Later on, went to see the African animals in their native habitat. We saw black and white zebras zoom past us. Then we saw the chimpanzees and monkeys. They were swinging and pronouncing that. Yeah, anyway, like I said, student writing. They were swinging and pronouncing from branch to branch. The last animals we saw were the snowy white polar bears. The polar bears yawned and their teeth were razor sharp. So you're going to notice some typos along the way. And like I said, that's fine. It's student writing. It hasn't been edited, but you get the idea. That's not what we're looking for at this point. The polar bears yawned and their teeth were razor sharp. I backed away a little. When our teacher said it was time to go, none of the children were ready to leave. I never thought you could be so cold and have so much fun. So this is an example of something that, where we can add some intermittent feelings to this. So, so where could we add some feelings to this? And I'll show you this in just a second. Hang on just a second. That's today's. All right. So yesterday our class went on an exciting trip to the Soco Gardens Zoo. We were all excited and surprised because it was so cold. We were all freezing. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and change the color to green. I'm going to add some thoughts and feelings here. We could hardly wait to get on the bus and get going. So something that simple is adding a thought or a feeling to your piece. Is it super complex? Is it involved? Is it insightful? No, not really, but it gives you an idea of what we're trying to do as far as adding the narrator's thoughts or feelings. So yesterday, our class went on an exciting trip to the Soco Garden Zoo. We were all excited and surprised because it was so cold. We were all freezing. We could hardly wait on the bus to get on the bus and get going. Okay, so that's one example. When we finally arrived at the zoo, the first place we visited was the giant aquarium. It had angelfish that were as beautiful as real angels. Now I'm going to add another thought or feeling here. I could hardly believe my eyes as I watched them gracefully twist and turn in the water. Okay, so we're talking about the angelfish here, and then we're adding some thoughts and some feelings. I could hardly believe my eyes as I watched them gracefully twist and turn in the water. So we have some strong verbs, and we've got a pretty specific, concrete image there. But again, we're adding the narrator's thoughts and feelings as we go. Okay, so that's another one. Moving on to the next paragraph. Later on, we went to see the African animals in their native habitat. We saw black and white zebras zoom past us. Then we saw the chimpanzees and monkeys. They were swinging, and the original pouncing from branch to branch, which isn't actually a word, but it could fool some people. From branch to branch. So again, I'm going to add another thought here. We could hardly keep a straight face as we watched these clowns show off for us. Right. So again, we're just adding another thought or feeling to our existing essay here. So these are just thoughts from the narrator that continue to walk us through what he or she is experiencing. Moving on to the next paragraph. The last animals we saw were snowy white polar bears. The polar bears yawned and their teeth were razor sharp. I backed away a little. And then I'm going to add another thought here. I was shaking, in my boots, and I wanted to make sure that I was out of reach. Out of, we'll say there. Okay, so again, descriptive, I was shaking in my boots and I wanted to make sure that I was out of their reach. Again, it's a real simple ad, but it adds to the overall picture of what's happening in our piece here. Moving on to the next paragraph. When our teacher said it was time to go, none of the children were ready to leave. I never thought you could be cold and have so much fun. So we can pretty much leave that there. I think that one's good to go. So as you can see, and this is an example of what I want you to do for tonight's homework, or technically what was last night's homework. You can see everything in green there. You're just adding intermittent feelings. So you're just adding additional description to your essay. So we could hardly wait to get on the bus and get going. I could hardly believe my eyes as I watched them gracefully twist and turn in the water. We could hardly keep a straight face as we watched these clowns show off for us. I was shaking in my boots and I wanted to make sure that I was out of their reach. So I have a question for you, and you can go ahead and type this in the chat. What do you notice about these sentences that are all written in green? What do they share in common? What do they share in common? So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the chat here. What do you notice about, well, if you did it yesterday, you can still, most of them all say hardly. Yeah, that's the truth. What else? There's emotions. They're all indirect reflections or sentences. Yep. They definitely add detail, for sure. They all describe how you feel. Yep, Drake, absolutely. They all state something about either the author specifically or about him and his classmates. Yes, absolutely. Emotions. They show, don't tell. Yes. And look at the location. Look at the location of all of these sentences. Where do they all occur? And yes, they describe how you feel or the narrator feels. And they all have to do with the narrator and his or her classmates, for sure. Yeah, Chloe and Alexis, yeah, they all come at the end of the paragraph. So it's almost like a concluding sentence for each paragraph. Those reflections are all coming at the end of each of those paragraphs. And so I think that's a key bit of information there. So it's something that you can, it's detail that you can add, and you don't have to worry about the placement. You really can put it on at the end of each paragraph, and you're going to be fine. Okay, so that was something that I thought was interesting, is that the location of each of those all comes at the end of the paragraph. So when it comes to your homework for tonight, if, excuse me, if you, where you're going to write your sentence, like that particular sentence to show the thought or feeling, more than likely, it's just going to go right there. Okay, right there. And then again, you're going to take a look at rewrite. You're going to be doing some rewriting here and here. And that's it. So really just those three places, and where it's 3 sentences basically. And that's all we're doing. Okay. All right. Hopefully that clears up yesterday's lesson. I want to talk just a little bit about. I'm going to stop sharing here for just a second. I want to move on today, and I want to talk a little bit about transition words, or more specifically, how to use those, and first differentiate between the different types of excuse me, the different types of transitions. And let me see here. Find this. Oh boy, nice. Okay. Did I find it? Okay, well, we'll go ahead and just jump into this. All right, and then Ms. Mullen, you are you with us?
Right here.
Okay, I was going to go ahead and take us to actually, I'll take us till about 10:10, and then give them a break until 10:20, and then figure if 10:20, is that going to give you enough time to do what you need to do?
Oh yeah, we'll be
Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to come back and share, and I'm just going to introduce this. So we went over tonight's homework, which is great. So I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish as far as that goes. But I want to talk a little bit about where we're headed tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about embedded transition words, phrases, and devices. So I want to talk about the three. We've talked about transition words and phrases, but we haven't talked about devices. And that is going to be a lot of what we're going to discuss tomorrow. So here's what we do know about transitional words and phrases and that type of thing. So we know that there's transition words. So if we're moving sequentially or chronologically through a piece of writing, words like first, next, last, finally, those are all transition words that we're well acquainted with. So that's one. The second is transitional phrases. So things like when we arrived, later on, at the end of the day, before we knew it, things like transitional phrases that indicate a change in situation or time. Those are the things that we're most familiar with. and we know how to use. We know the difference between first, second, third, next, last, finally, and we're well aware of transitional phrases like I have listed here. Now, you'll notice that right here, there's a third one called transitional devices, and something that's referred to as dynamic symmetry, which is a big word for something that I'll show you here in just a second. So, what is dynamic symmetry? It's a series of different things. So you'll notice that all three of these boxes here have the number 3. And there is it's a rule, well, not necessarily a rule, but more of a guideline that talks about the rule of 3s. So it's just one of those things that our brain processes when we're working in series of 3s. So for instance, as far as a transitional device is concerned, 3 strong verbs. So the train braked, screeched, and finally came to a halt. So you've got 3 verbs there: braked, screeched, and came. So those are the 3 verbs that you have in order to indicate like a transition of some kind. Now the train is stopping, so 3 strong verbs would be 1. And then you have 3 sensory phrases: the aroma of coffee perking, griddle cakes rising, and bacon, frying. So, and you'll see 3, it just moves you through time. It breaks up for whatever reason. It's one of those things, using a rule of 3 like this sort of breaks things up for our brains and engages the reader for whatever reason. I'm sure there's neurological research on that somewhere, but for some reason, our brain responds to trinities, troikas, triads, right? Series of 3. And then the last one is 3 short sentences or fragments. So a car passed. Chrome hubcaps mirrored the sun's ray. I began collecting those gray-white stones that were within lazy reach. Improve your aim. Hit the hubcap. Win a prize. So those are different types of dynamic symmetry. And those, all 3 of these are what are referred to as transitional devices. So it's an embedded transition. So you're not coming out and using first, next, last, when we arrived, those types of things. These are significantly more sophisticated. So we're going to spend some time going into depth on these tomorrow. So we're going to be taking a look at a passage, and you are going to be identifying some transitional phrases and devices. But I just wanted to introduce that today. So, but it's a concept known as dynamic symmetry, and it is a transitional device or a series, excuse me, of transitional devices that you can use in your writing. So, and it's next level stuff. I'm not going to lie, but once you get your head around, even just using one of these 3 in your writing is going to make a huge difference. So, all right. So here's what we're going to do. That's it for me for right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself available in the chat. What I would do is I would go ahead and spend some time taking a look at the homework if you were unsure of what to do last night, and just get that knocked out. I don't think that'll take you terribly long, but I will be available here in the chat in case you have any questions. All right, thanks for listening. Again, I'll be in the chat. If you have any questions, fire away. And we'll be back here at 10:20 for reading with Mr. Mullen. Due tomorrow. Yeah, we want to get this knocked out as quickly as we can. Like I said, it's not a terribly lengthy or involved assignment. We just have to get it taken care of. So ideally do at the end of the day today, because I don't want this lingering during Christmas break. I want to get it done before. Yeah, so just to clarify, the homework from yesterday, people had questions. They weren't quite sure what to do. So that's why I explained what I explained earlier. So if you finished it already, like if you felt like you knew what you were doing and you completed it, then you're good to go. This is just for people who weren't quite sure. The assignment is posted in Google Classroom. And the specific, so hang on, one thing at a time, break until 10:20. And yeah, if you want to go back,
Mama was pounding corn in the wood mortar. Thud, thud, thud. The rhythmic sound echoed in every kitchen throughout the village. Soon the smells of corn, fufu, and palm oil soup would fill the air. Remember, we are selling bananas at the market today, Mama said, handing a large plastic bucket to Blessing. Blessing sighed. Her shoulders already ached at the thought of carrying the bananas all the way to the town of Gembu, where the market was held. She was thankful that she owned a pair of sandals. They were old and worn, but they would protect her feet on the rocky trails. Blessing left the kitchen and ran down to the river, where she was joined by a dozen other young girls. Laughter filled the air as girls filled their buckets and splashed each other. Okay, time out. Oh, nope, not yet. Let's keep going. Sorry. Blessing filled her bucket, settled it on her head, and climbed homeward with her best friend, Kezia. Are you going to Gembu Market today? Kezia asked. Of course, answered Blessing. Mama needs to carry bananas. I'm going too, Kezia said. We have kumbi to sell. Blessing's mouth watered at the thought of fresh kumbi. The leafy green plant tasted so delicious cooked in stew. Kezia's family was lucky to own a farm near the river, whose water helped to irrigate and grow kumbi during the dry months. Kumbi would bring them a good price at market. When they reached Blessing's house, she said goodbye to Kezia and hurried inside. Her 6 younger brothers and sisters were already eating, hungrily licking each drop of red palm oil soup from their fingers. Blessing saw that today's portions were even smaller than yesterday's. There was never enough food for them in dry season. Okay, now I want to do timeout. There's 2 things I want us to do. First of all, where is Blessing's feelings at this point? What are her feelings concerning Kezia? I want you to put your answer in the chat. I'm reading the chat right now. That she's sad, okay? She feels, there is a little bit of sadness in the feelings that are in these first pages, and that she's upset, okay? That she feels sadness. There is something of a negative feeling, isn't it? She feels jealous. Leslie, I think that is a good analysis. What is she jealous of or envious? Remember that word we had yesterday? What is she envious of? She feels bad for her siblings. Good job. I like that, Hector. I think she looks at Kezia and she's jealous that Kezia she's not angry at Kezia, but she's upset and jealous of Kezia because they have a farm, right, Lavisa? And they have they have, kumbi, which is a great way to eat and stay healthy and satisfy your hunger. Okay. Let's go on. To prepare for the trek to Gembu, Blessing got out her favorite head tie, a silky yellow scarf decorated with a picture of street in a beautiful village. The street had shops filled with good food, richly dressed people, and strange lamps on tall poles. Hold on a second. What does this mean, this expression, richly dressed people? What does it mean to be richly dressed? Send me your comments in the chat. I want to know what you think. What does that mean? Richly dressed. They were danced fancy, to look nice. They fancy, dressed nice, wearing nice clothes. Boy, man, you guys give me lots of them. They dressed better than other people. Exactly. Okay? They dress as if they had money, right? To have expensive clothing, right? Good, you guys get it. Yeah, this is what we call an adjective, right? And anyways, it's describing the word dressed. Okay, let's go on. Actually, dressed is an adjective as well. Let's go on. Father had been to a big village once and had seen those lamps. They come on at night, so it's never dark, her father had explained. Blessing often made up stories about the village on her scarf and told them to her brothers and sisters in the evenings as they sat around the kitchen fire. The scarf was her most prized possession. Blessing knelt down to find her sandals, but to her surprise, she found only one. Then she remembered how she and her 10-year-old brother, Billy, had fought yesterday. Billy had worn her sandals on an errand across the village without asking permission. And when she demanded that he take them off at once, Billy threw them at her and ran off. Blessing went to look for Billy and found him playing with his wooden toy truck. "Where's my sandal?" Blessing yelled as she waved the other one in his face. Billy gulped and held up the tattered remains of her sandal. Blessing snatched the sandal from his hand. Strips had been cut out of it with scissors. She wiped tears of rage from her eyes as she realized that Billy had cut up her sandal to make her rubber wheels for toy. Billy looked down at his feet and didn't utter a word. Here is a paragraph that does exactly what Mr. Hartman was talking about. It shows the emotion rather than tell the emotion. What emotion is it showing? And how do we know that she's that way, that she's feeling this? Go ahead. Give me your responses in the chat. Yeah, she's upset and angry. She's enraged, right, Chloe? I can relate to this. My sisters ruin my stuff all the time. That's true. I remember my brothers doing that to me. Furious, enraged, angry, sad. She's very angry, isn't she? And so, she's just not mildly perturbed. She's just not mildly upset. She's really, really angry. Now, how does Billy feel? Go ahead, tell me. How does Billy feel in the chat? He feels bad, right? How do we know that? Because he can't look her in the face. Nervous, he feels guilty, right? Ashamed, absolutely. You guys understand this. Isn't it amazing how when we start reading something and we start making connections by our emotions, how much more we understand that character? The marketplace. Blessing's bare feet ached terribly by the time she and her mother reached Gembu. They placed their bananas on a mat in the marketplace. Blessing hoped that they would sell lots of bananas so there would be extra money to buy new sandals. But as the day dragged on, her hopes dimmed. She watched enviously as Kezia sold lots of kumbi. At the end of the day, Blessing and her mother repacked their baskets for the trek home. Blessing knew that the small bundle of money tucked in her mother's skirt would not buy the food her family needed. So right now, time out. What is her emotional state? What is Blessing's emotional state right now at this minute? Go ahead, share with me in your chat. She's sad, she's worried, she's concerned, she's disappointed for the day, she's worried, right? That's exactly right. She's concerned, isn't she? There's not enough money to buy the food that the family needs. Already, the food is scarce. Now it's about to get more scarce. As they left the market, Blessing noticed Madame Bangui, very wealthy businesswoman who always smelled of sweet perfume. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that name. Mrs. Digby, you've been to Africa. Go ahead, share with me. I'm sure Mr. Hartman could tell us how to say it. I'll try it again. And so, let's see. They left the market. Blessing noticed Madame Bangui.
Bangui.
Bangui. Okay, I'll say it.
Bangui.
Bangui. I'll say it with a.
Oh, Malachi can tell us. Oh, wait, did I say it right? Nigerian? Okay, tell us. Bangui.
Bangui. Bangui. I'm going to say it like you said it.
Bangui.
Okay. As they left the market, Blessing noticed Madame Bangui.
Malachi said I'm right. Malachi. Bangui.
That's cool. A very wealthy businesswoman who always smelled of sweet perfume. Blessing recalled that she had once complimented Blessing's yellow scarf. Untying the scarf from her head, Blessing approached Madame Bangui. Madam? Yes, child, Madame Bangui answered. You admired my scarf once. I would like to sell it to you if you wish, said Blessing. Madame Bangui looked thoughtfully at Blessing. She smiled, counted out 16 naira, and handed it to Blessing. I'm having a hard time reading this morning. Blessing curtsied, her eyes full of grateful tears. Okay, time out. What is she feeling right now? Go ahead and put it in your chat. Man, you guys are quick. She's relieved. She's thankful. She's happy, surprised. Happy, overjoyed. Right. You can see how the emotions are changing, and we're only like 10 pages in, aren't we? Overwhelmed, grateful, happy. Okay. Blessing's mother was overjoyed when she saw the money. I think my good daughter needs shoes, she said, beaming. Blessing's heart felt light as she skipped over to the shoe stall. When she returned with a pair of sturdy yellow sandals on her feet, her mother was ready to start for home, carrying a basket of kumbi sticking out. The family would enjoy a tasty stew that night. Kumbi for supper. When they reached home, Blessing found the other children huddled around the fire looking hungry. Their eyes lit up at the sight of kumbi. Blessing could feel the heat of the fire against her bare head, and her heart ached at the thought that her favorite scarf was gone, yet somehow she did not feel unhappy. As she prepared the kumbi for supper, Blessing told her siblings a story. Once there was a wonderful village with lamps on tall poles that lit up the night. Each child in that village had one pair of shoes. One day, a boy from the village crossed the rivers with his shoe on his head, and in the middle of the river, he slipped and the shoes fell into the water. Blessing paused for a moment, glancing slyly at Billy before continuing. After that, the boy would use his sister's shoes without asking permission. This made his sister very mad until one day she lost her shoes. When she realized how much the rocks hurt her bare feet, she decided that she would get new shoes and that she would share them with her brother. Blessing paused again and placed her new shoes between herself and Billy. And for a little while, the brother and sister were friends. Blessing, Billy, time to fetch water, called Mama. Blessing jumped up, put on one shoe. Grinning at her brother, she tossed him the other shoe. Race you to the river, she yelled. The winner gets to wear both shoes home. Okay. Now, one thing that you need to realize that as we read and make connections using emotions that the characters, especially the main protagonist, the main character is feeling, your understanding of the story will be enhanced and strengthened. And your understanding of the motivations of what is going on will be enhanced as well. And so we need to be aware and track and make connections with our emotions as we read. And when we write, we need to incorporate emotions in there so other people will be able to connect with us. So tomorrow, guys, we're going to have, just a heads up, we're going to have a response to literature. There will be an assignment. It'll be the last assignment for reading until we come back in January, but it won't be long. It won't be super involved, but it will focus on how emotions help us when we read to make connections. So anyways, that's where we're at. There is no homework today with reading. And so, Mrs. Digby, I'm finished. I bet you I could say Mrs. Digby like I say Mrs. Bongway.
Do we want our kids that are below 75 to stay? Is 75 our goal for today? Yes.
Yeah, sure. I don't even know. I think most everyone is, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Ideally, just finish today. Like, I don't know. Yeah, 75 works, I guess. Like, because those people who are going to do it have done it or are almost done, and yeah, whatever. I'm good.
Yes, my little nugget was if they finish today, they don't have to log in tomorrow until the 9 o'clock whole group Zoom.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, there you go.
So if you finish it now today, then you can come at 9 for the whole group Zoom tomorrow. I mean, but if you're not finished, you have to log in first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock, to continue working on this test.
Does that make sense, guys? Okay, good.
I mean, is that okay, teachers? I just said it, but
That's a smart thing, it seems to me.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I still have 2 people working on the language arts, believe it or not.
Wowzers. Okay. Yeah, the thing about if you don't finish this test within a certain amount of time, then everything gets erased and you have to start completely over. So you have to finish before break. I mean, that's all there is to it. I don't know.
The other thing too, not to like nag at you, but Miss Lester is stalking these scores. So she's contacting people who aren't finishing them either.